Hi, my name is Amber Ostrup, and the reason why I started Blanket Hearts is because I really wanted to make no-sew blankets for people in need. I started making no-sew blankets after my mom passed away of cancer at the age of 47. Her name was Vicki, and we found out in March that she had cancer, and 4 months later she passed away. It was at that time that I realized I wanted to do more for people that were coming to the end of their life. You go through so many different emotions when the loved one that you're watching is getting ready to pass on. And so I realized when I went to the hospital, the walls were white, the sheets were white, everything was white and sterile. And I realized that's kind of a hospital setting, but I wanted to really try and bring a little cheer and comfort to those people that were having a challenging time. So about several years later, after I went through the grieving process, I started taking flowers to Georgetown University Hospital where my mom had passed away. But I couldn't keep getting up there every couple days or once a week to clean out the water or to bring fresh flowers. So I had to try and come up with a different way to provide a little cheer or comfort to those in need. So a good friend of mine at the time received a no-sew blanket for her daughter. No-sew blankets are not new. I didn't invent them or anything like that, but it's something that people are doing around the world, and they're easy and they provide a lot of comfort and warmth. So we made one. My mom's best friend and I made one. Her name's Linda. We made one and gave it to Georgetown University Hospital. A couple weeks later, I received a very lovely letter, thank you letter, from a woman whose husband was a recipient of our blanket. She mentioned in her letter how thankful she was and that her husband had really appreciated the blanket. It brought him warmth and comfort as he came to the end of his life. It was then that she inherited the blanket, and not only that, it was the last thing he touched, her husband touched, and it kind of had his same scent on there, and it meant a lot to her, and it meant a lot to me. I realized at that time that I wanted to try and do a little more. So we would have little no-sew blanket making parties. Then we started growing, and we started delivering blankets to Fort Belvoir Community Hospital. We give them to the oncology unit. So when people graduate from their chemo treatments, they throw a big party for the recipient and provide a blanket. We also started delivering blankets to Inova Children's Fairfax Hospital. About a year ago, I was actually going to throw in the towel on this no-sew blanket making effort. I felt that maybe it was too much work, or maybe financially I couldn't do it. And so I told God that I'm going to throw the towel in. That very same week that I told God I was going to throw the towel in is the same week that a dear nurse from Georgetown University Hospital contacted me to ask if we could start putting our blankets in the end-of-life carts. That same week, a dear nurse from Fort Belvoir Community Hospital contacted me to say that they were running low on blankets and when is the next party. And then several coworkers and friends contacted me that same week. It was at that point that I realized God not only did not want me to give this ministry up, He wanted me to do more. So He wanted me to go big or go home. So we are going big. We had an event June 6, 2015, and Thomas Holtman had taken some pictures, which led to an opportunity to connect with Snowball Express. Snowball Express is an organization that remembers the children of our fallen military heroes. They have paid a huge price for their parents serving in the military. Snowball Express every December brings them to Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, and they throw a big party and just a celebration so that they can be around other children that have lost their mom and or dad. And at that point, I offered to make blankets for each child. They graciously accepted, and so we, the community, are going to provide 1,500 no-sew blankets to Snowball Express.
I'm really happy to be here today to follow Amber's heart. I have a heart for people who are in need, and so I come here to do a job that's not very difficult. And as we sit around making the blankets, we are able to visit and chat and maybe get to know some people a little better. It's just a kind of a nice thing to do, and particularly right now for military children that these blankets are being made today for. I'm happy to be here.
It is an honor for me to be here today to make blankets for these wonderful children who have sacrificed so much so that the rest of us can have the freedoms that we take for granted every day. Well, I just hope that those children that receive these blankets know that they were made for love, with love, so that they can wrap themselves around them and know that we will never forget the sacrifice that their family has made for the United States of America.
Yet we've had a blast making the blanket together. We were able to cut and trim, and Elena here tied the knots for us. She was cutting. She was a great helper. Elena, what did you think? Was it easy to make? Was it easy to make the blanket?
The best thing about coming to a blanket party is the fellowship and the people that you meet. It's nice to meet new people from different areas and find out why they came here or what their reason is behind it, and get to know their story and meet them and have the fellowship with them. Also, it brings everybody to the blankets. It's women, it's men, it's children. You don't have to be experienced. It's a wonderful day of fellowship and joy to be able to do this in fellowship with other people.
Make a blanket was pretty easy to pick up once you figured out how, and it's pretty fun too.
I learned how to make the blankets here because of the people who taught me how to cut them and tie them. And yeah.
This is the first time I'd made a blanket like this for this type of activity. And I found that once we were shown how to do it the first time, it was a very easy task, and it was very fulfilling knowing that these blankets are going to go to children that are in need of comfort because of the loss of a parent.
I learned how to make these blankets from people here at Christ Church. Mostly my mom and Miss Amber, they would sit down with me and help me learn how to cut and tie and how to stretch the blankets once they're done to make them a little bit bigger, and just help me put all the love and care that's needed to make these blankets.